All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Chesapeake Biological Lab for those in the room in front of me, and welcome to those on Zoom for the fourth of our 5 Science for Communities lectures. I will say, starting off, if you haven't yet voted, get up and leave. There's an hour left. Go and vote. I voted for the first time ever in a US election today. I wear my sticker with pride. You'll also notice I'm wearing a poppy, which for those who don't know the significance, poppies are worn in the United Kingdom and throughout the Commonwealth countries, as they're known, in commemoration of those who died in war, working for our freedom or dying for our freedom. The poppies in the battlefields of World War I sort of blossomed, so it was taken as a sign of eternal hope. It had never struck me before until I voted today, the juxtaposition of the act of democracy of going to vote with the commemoration a few days later of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we can go and vote. So I meant that most sincerely. If you haven't voted, please leave and go and vote.
We're recording, so
they can watch this later, exactly right. So the goals of these lectures are to bring our science to the community, to tell you what we do, why it's important, and why you should be interested in it. The first 3 of the lectures we've had this series have been people like me talking about our research, which is a singularly selfish thing to do. It is our research. We are the people making the observations. We do it for our own curiosity. In many cases, we do it because we are also attracted to the societal impact of what we do. In my case, fisheries has a direct societal impact. But today we take a little bit of a diversion from this, and today we're going to talk about our most successful citizen science program. So this is a research program on dolphins where it is you, the citizens, those who vote, and others, who make the observations, who are our eyes and ears on the Chesapeake Bay. In this case, looking at the sort of hidden world and not so hidden world of the bottlenose dolphin in the Chesapeake Bay. So tonight's speaker is Jamie Testa, who is one of our researchers. Jamie grew from great acorn of SUNY ESF, a very well-known environmental science school in New York. Moved down to Maryland, lived on the Eastern Shore, and was part of a DNR stranding network. This is the state agency that responds when there are calls of dolphins and whales stranded on the beach. She did that for a number of years and then joined our integration and application network, which is dedicated to applying the results of our science to answer societally relevant questions. She joined us a few years ago to work on this program called DolphinWatch, and has been here ever since, doing some really phenomenal work on dolphins, involved in another outreach program called Wave of Plastic, which talks about the role or the impact of plastics in the marine environment, in the bay, and what children and other community members can do to impact that problem. And shortly, her duties will be expanding to work on offshore wind, looking at movement of whales in the coastal Maryland. So Jamie wears many hats here. Tonight she's going to wear her DolphinWatch hat, and she's going to talk to you about the hidden life of dolphins in the Chesapeake Bay. For those of you who are online, I must remind you this is a Zoom conference. You will not be able to unmute and ask questions, but you will be able to type questions in the chat box. And I promise you at the end of the evening, I will alternate questions that you have posted in the chat box with questions that the audience members of here have asked. So if there are questions you have during the presentation, don't hesitate to type them in the chat box, and we'll try and address as many of the questions as we can. So with that, it is my great pleasure to introduce Jamie Testa. Jamie.
Thank you, Tom. I see a couple messages in the chat from our Zoom participants. I'm going to try to speak tonight without the microphone, and I'm hoping that Larry and David and some of our Zoom friends can let us know if that improves the sound or if it doesn't improve the sound. I'm also going to look for my friends in the back row and Sarah waving arms saying yay or nay. Sounds better. Definitely sounds better. Okay. If you can't hear me and you're in the back, just give me like a thumbs up or I can't hear you kind of situation. Okay. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks for being here tonight, both on Zoom and in person. Before I get into the presentation, I want to acknowledge the team of folks that come together to make Chesapeake DolphinWatch happen. So it's not just me. It's a whole team of us, including our founder, Dr. Helen Bailey, who is a wonderful person and really got this train rolling around along its tracks. We also have Lauren Rodriguez here tonight, who is doing her master's research at Chesapeake Biological Lab and is contributing to the DolphinWatch sort of umbrella of research. We have PhD candidate Robert Bell in the back here. Ask him lots of questions at the end. He's a big fan of tough questions. And we also have Kirsten Silva, who has been working behind the scenes of Chesapeake DolphinWatch since 2017 when I began. So whether you are on Zoom or in the room, I was hoping to get a little sense for who joining us tonight has ever seen dolphins in the wild, not the meet and greet in the aquarium, but wild dolphins out in the nature, anywhere in the world. Raise your hand or enter it into the chat. Wow, this is my people. Okay, that's incredible. I would say most people said yes. I see lots of yeses coming in through the chat in the ocean and the rivers, Florida. Okay, wonderful. Trickier question, possibly. How many of you have seen wild dolphins in Chesapeake Bay or the tributaries specifically? Okay. Well, those odds are better than the actual researcher sitting behind the computer analyzing the data you all send us, because we're about 50-50 who's actually seen dolphins in the wild and who hasn't. So thank you. I see all of your comments coming in through Zoom.
Hey, Jamie, do you want to do the closed captions?
Yes, if you're on Zoom at home, the closed captioning service is available. You can, I think, toggle it on or off. So before we get started, yep. Anything else I forgot? No, sorry. All right, so tonight we're going to go over a basic introduction to bottlenose dolphins. We're going to talk about how to be responsible wildlife viewers and responsible dolphin watchers. We're going to talk about when the app got started and what kind of information we collect, as well as what we're doing with that information. So we're going to try to summarize 5 years of data. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary. We're going to talk again about some of those research components that come under the umbrella of what we call DolphinWatch and what we're hoping to do in the future. Bottlenose dolphins are marine mammals. Surprise, not fish. They do not live in the water with gills. They need to come to the surface to breathe air into their lungs. And this one aspect of their biology makes it possible for us to see them, at least with simple tools like binoculars. And we don't need to capture them or get them in a net and handle them in order to learn a lot about them. And this app has shown that. They're large animals upwards of over 1,000 pounds. They eat a variety of fish and squid. We think primarily fish in the bay. We'll talk more about that. And they use acoustics or sound to communicate with each other. Bottlenose dolphin are not an endangered species, though they are a protected species. They're protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. And they face a variety of threats, both natural and human influence. Natural threats might be just old age, diseases that run through the population. We had an unusual mortality event that bottlenose dolphins suffered in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic in 2013 to 2015. And then human kind of causes might be entanglement or interaction with commercial or recreational fishing gear. It could be oil spills or water pollution, those kinds of things. So when we talk about responsible wildlife viewing, we can generally say, please don't feed or harass the dolphins. But you should know they are protected by law, and that is enforceable by fines or jail time through the Marine Mammal Protection Act. This black square box that looks like it's covering up all the good information is a QR code. So if you get out your smartphone and you turn your camera on and you hold it up to that code, and it should give you a link, and that link will take you to this brochure. We have some paper copies in the room. So if you want to know a little bit more about how to be a responsible wildlife watcher, we encourage you to follow those links and get that information. Don't worry, I didn't get rid of the link. It's still there if you didn't get your camera out yet. But we want to appreciate that these are large, strong animals. So we hear a lot of people joke around about getting in the water with the animals. We would never want to do that. Just one stroke from a fluke, the tail of a dolphin could really injure you. We also know that marine mammals, right? Mammals, and we're mammals, and there is an opportunity there for disease to be spread from mammals to mammals. So it really is important to give these animals distance and to watch from a safe distance to let them live their natural wild lives, both to keep us safe and to keep them safe. So what we usually tell people is we want you to be dolphin smart. It's an acronym, SMART. Stay at least 50 yards, about 150 feet away from the animals, unless they approach you, and that sometimes does happen. M is for move away cautiously if they show signs of disturbance. So a lot of times we are able just to watch these animals go about their lives. They're feeding, they're foraging, they're traveling through our estuaries and the tributary, and that's great. Sometimes we want to avoid impacting them, so we need to move away should we cause a disturbance. We want to always put our engine in neutral as well as pull in our fishing gear when dolphins are present, again, to protect them. We need to consider safe boating practices and human safety, obviously, before we make any decisions about what to do with our vessel. R is for refrain from feeding, touching, or swimming with wild dolphins, including your pets. You hear some of that. Sometimes can we put our dogs in the water and things like that? No, it's better to let pets stay pets and wild dolphins to stay wild dolphins. And then the T is to teach others to be dolphin smart as well. So in these photos, this bottom left photo here submitted by Tony is actually from the Patuxent River just outside our lab here. We believe that this may be a pregnant individual, a pregnant female. And in this upper right-hand photo, you can see 3 dorsal fins, but what we're focused on here are these 2. So this looks like a mother-calf pair. A calf will ride in what's called baby position with mom. And so she'll actually have baby under her in the slipstream, makes it easier for baby to travel along with her, also gives good access for nursing. And then when they surface, baby will come just to the side and just behind. So we see this arrangement of mother-calf pairs present like this frequently in the wild. Females are pregnant for about 12 months. So it is possible that if an individual became pregnant here, she may give birth here a year later as well. It's also possible that these are calving grounds. We have seen the many calves coming in and being present through much of the season. Babies are generally with mom for about 18 months to 20 months nursing, but they will wean and stay with mom for at least 5 years, usually longer. Let's see, females can live to be about upwards of 60 years old. Males tend to live a little bit shorter lives, somewhere in the range of 40 to 50 years old. So in this next slide, we can see this video on loop. This is a good example of mom and baby position coming up. But researchers, our collaborators in the Potomac River, actually witnessed a live birth in the Potomac River, giving us strong evidence that we have mating behaviors and calving grounds and nursery or rearing grounds here in Chesapeake Bay. So we launched the app in 2017 with the help of Chesapeake Bay Trust, as well as Chesapeake Biological Lab. And what you see on the right here is a screenshot of the map when you log into the app to either explore existing sightings or report your own. And in 2017, we launched mobile versions of those apps. So if you're not an app user yet, you can actually scan this circular code with your phone, and it should take you to your own device's app store, so you can check out the app there. And though we launched the website first, we anticipate keeping that website going well into the future alongside the mobile app versions. So pro tip, when you see dolphins in the wild, don't worry about the app yet. Yes, we want you to report it, but first we want you to enjoy the moment, savor the experience, enjoy your encounter. Get out your camera, take your photos, enjoy. But then afterwards, come and tell us about it in the app. So when you go and you click on the map to tell us, hey, I've seen dolphins, these first 3 fields, the date, time, and location, are going to auto-populate. So you don't have to do anything unless you need to adjust your date and time and location. And the next 3 fields written in black there, we hope to get a vague estimate size of the group of individuals you saw, a basic description of what you think you saw, and images, photos, or videos, whatever you have. So, a lot of information from a pretty simple list. And in addition, we have a ton of users who have joined our ranks. So beginning in 2017, you can see the number of registered users has grown. And this is our first 5 years of data that we're talking about today. But I will say, sneak peek, in 2022, we did surpass 10,000 registered users. And over those 5 years, we had over 7,000 dolphin sightings reported in the app. As of last week, we had 12,800 registered users in that. So what do we do with all that information? We have all these people, we have all this data coming in. What do? Well, we throw up dolphin photos, because I know it's been 5 slides exactly since we had dolphin photos in. So here's some dolphin photos for you to enjoy while we talk about what we do with the data. Lauren and the DolphinWatch team last summer published a paper in PLOS ONE. And this paper was able to correlate dolphin presence with environmental conditions or water conditions, like salinity, temperature, and tidal phase. So dolphin are more likely to be present when the water is warm, 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. They're more likely to be present when we're having a spring tide. For those of you on the water, you might know spring tide, but let's just clarify, it's not the season of spring. It's spring tide when it's in full and new moods, when our high tides are higher and our low tides are lower. And we think that this influences where the fish are and how the dolphin can forage during those times. But we do see dolphins in a range of salinities from 6 ppt parts per thousand, it's almost fresh at 6, not quite, to 22. Okay, so the ocean is about 35 ppt, I think is the number. Walter, is that right? Yep, Walter gives me a thumbs up, about 35, so almost to full salt, so a wide range of salinities. And just a note here, this photo from Melissa Maxini, she's a dolphin watcher who contributed this photo, and it was selected to be on the cover of a scientific journal where we published signature whistle paper, talk about signature whistles later, written by our colleague Amber. We also contribute our data to environmental impact statements. So the Patuxent River Naval Air Station across the river here from where we are recently renewed their environmental impact statement. And we contributed dolphin presence data to that. In previous environmental impact statements for that air station, they had only considered marine mammals, including harbor seals. So our data contributed to what they're considering in those activities at the air station. Top questions. So you don't have to type these ones into the chat, hopefully. Top questions. When are bottlenose dolphins here? Where do they go while they're here? What are they doing? And what do they eat? So let's jump in and hopefully answer these questions. This graph shows our confirmed DolphinWatch sightings over the past 5 years. That means that each of these sightings has individually been passed through our data validation procedure. So there's a lot of numbers and colors here, but what I'll point out first is when we see January, February, and March down here on the bottom left, the numbers are very low. If we also go all the way over to the far right, our numbers are very low in November and December. These are our cold months, right? What we also notice here in the middle is June and July. These are our peak sighting months. These are the months when you are most likely to see dolphins in Chesapeake Bay. What we also notice from the general pattern we see here that as the water and air warms, the animals, excuse me, the dolphin sighting reports increase and environmental cues tell them to head back out. What we think is happening is they're heading in from the ocean and heading back out. So let's take a look at this in a different way. Map of the bay. We've received so many sightings, it's hard to parse out, but let's just get our bearings here in terms of location. So down here is the mouth of Chesapeake Bay at the Atlantic Ocean. We've got the James, York, and Rappahannock rivers coming up the western side of the Virginia part of the bay. Over here is the Virginia Eastern Shore. If we cross over here to the Potomac and Patuxent rivers, you know the Potomac divides Maryland from Virginia on the western side. And right in here is Annapolis and the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. So as we head south down or over to the eastern shore and south, we see the Chester River. This is the Choptank River. The Nanticoke River comes in here and the Wicomico River. When we talk about sightings in the main stem of Chesapeake Bay, we generally divide the bay into 3 sections. We have the lower bay, which runs from the mouth at the Atlantic Ocean up to about the state line between Maryland and Virginia. We have the middle bay that runs from that state line north to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. That Route 50 makes a really nice line on a map for us. And the third segment is what we consider the upper bay, and is generally where we're seeing dolphins, less in the tributaries and more in the main stem. But we're going to break down these sightings locations for you a little bit more. Lauren created this map, which is actually a video. So when I play it, you're going to see sightings show up and disappear again. And there's a lot of information to this graph. So the first time I play this video through, I'm going to call out the month and the year. And hopefully as we work through, you are going to get to see that seasonal pattern of when we see dolphins in the bay. Let's see. There is no sound. So if you're on Zoom, you're not missing any sound. Hopefully you'll hear my voice. All right, we're gonna start in 2017 in June. Then we move to July, August, September, October, November, December. 2018, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 2019, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 2020, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 2021, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And I'm gonna pause it there. Lauren's such an overachiever, it keeps going, but. All right, so raise your hand or enter into the chat if you're able to see that seasonal pattern highlighted when we moved from season to season, month to month, from year to year. So you can see that there are some outliers, right? And there are some new spots that hadn't had sightings reported before, but generally that seasonal pattern is seen from year to year. All right, so if we pause it and we look at this information from a different point of view, these are called heat maps. So where the colors are darker, there is a higher density or a higher frequency of dolphins reported in that area. And where the colors are lighter, it's fewer or less frequent dolphin sightings reported. So when we look here in May, and this is May of all 5 years combined together, we see that we have hot spots here in the Rappahannock River and towards the lower bay, but you can still see some colors up here, right, in the upper and middle bays. As we move into June, that density, those hot spots of our heat map are centralized in the upper middle bay and lower upper bay. That's confusing, but higher further north in the bay. We have July down here where we've got a noticeable dark spot up north near Annapolis, again, the upper middle bay and upper bay segments, and a noticeable lack of coloration down here in the lower bay. Whereas when we move towards August, we see that heat, that density of sightings reported move away from the upper bay and towards these lower bay tributaries and main stem. And that continues on into September. So this is sort of the peak of the sighting pattern from year to year. All right, so we're going to play a video here. And I'm going to mute it and let you know that dolphins travel in groups. We call them pods. And we do see a wide range of pod sizes reported throughout the bay. In the smallest creeks, we tend to get small reports of 1 or 2 individuals traveling together. However, in our wider, deeper areas, we do have pods reported in excess of 100 individuals. So we can get big pods, and we know that they have a fusion society. So it is expected that they are going to branch off from each other, rejoin, come back together as part of their normal routines. And this was filmed in the Choptank River in July 2022. Our next video technology. All right. Our next video is an excellent example of how we see dolphins responding sometimes to what we think is sound and the sound that they're receiving. So what we've tend to notice from all the plethora of videos that we've received from our dolphin watchers is that quieter vessels tend to have more intimate or close range encounters with dolphins. They will tend to approach and get closer, especially to sailboats and kayaks and quieter vessels. So.
Oh, they're going for the sailboat. Oh my gosh. That is so awesome.
That is cool.
Careful, careful. You're going right at them. Oh my gosh.
I've heard they like to swim with sailboats.
Because they don't motor?
Probably, yeah. Well,
Oh wow. Yeah, he's under sail.
So you can hear them discussing how those dolphins seem to be kind of following behind that sailboat in a way. And you also hear them observing nice, safe boating practices around the dolphin by slowing their motor down and saying, wait, don't approach too quickly. So thank you to Eugenia in the Upper Bay.
there he is.
Oh, they're going for the sailboat. Oh my gosh.
We do want to play some of these videos twice, but that's not my goal here. All right, let's try again. All right. This video has a different perspective. It was taken from a kayaker. So you'll see the vantage point is lower. And I am going to play this one through twice, and I hope that we can all hear the sound. If you're on Zoom, try to turn your volume up. We're maxed out here in this room.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to play that one again, and this time I want you to see if you can listen for sounds besides the boat. You can definitely hear the kayak and the paddle knocking against it. But what I think you can also hear if your volume and hearing are good enough is you should be able to hear the dolphin take a breath as they come to the surface. So what you actually hear first is they exhale, and then before they go under, they inhale again to hold their breath. And you will also at one point, especially when the dolphin, you can see them go under the kayak, you might be able to hear a whistle. So I'm going to play it one more time to see if you can get the whistle this time. Right. Some people heard the whistle and some people couldn't, but all right, we've maxed out our volume, so we'll move on. Hopefully you'll hear my next sound. Speaking of dolphin sounds. Okay. We've been listening for dolphins underwater since 2015. We can use hydrophones, which are underwater microphones, or C-pods, which are click detectors. For those of you in the room here with us, we have a red C-pod over on the windowsill and a gray hydrophone over on the windowsill for you to peek at. The pale yellow stars appearing on the map are locations where we have previously listened for dolphins. And the locations with bright yellow stars are where we're currently listening for dolphins. This site here in the Potomac River near Heathsville is our longest running listening site where we've listened for dolphins most of the year. And we do that in collaboration with a palm net fisher named Fred Jeff. And here's what we've seen from the Potomac River. This is on the left-hand side of our chart here, detection hours per day. So you'll see the scale goes from 0 to 25. I guess we should have kept it at 24 hours a day. And we've got data on the x-axis here at the bottom running from middle May until the beginning of November on the right. So What we can see here is that there is a general trend toward increasing dolphin detections here, peaking in about early July, and then starting to decrease here in August, heading towards fall. So this point up here, the top of the green line, is actually saying that in early July of 2018, we had a day where we heard dolphins about 22 out of the 24 hours in a day. So a lot of dolphin calls. Excuse me. And this helps us understand that what we're seeing on the water through our visual sightings is being validated through our underwater listening devices. And we get that question a lot. How do you know that you're not just seeing dolphins where the people are? You're not just tracking where the people go when you have these visual sightings that are increasing in July when lots of people are on the water. Well, this data shows us that what we're seeing on the water matches what we're hearing under the water as well. Okay, so let's listen to some dolphin sounds. Hopefully we'll be able to hear this on the Zoom and in the room. This image is called the spectrogram. It's just a visual representation of what we're hearing. And so the green is actually where the dolphins are clicking, and the blue is where the dolphins are not clicking. There's no sound. Let's take a listen. You'll see a line move across the screen as the sound plays. When we hear dolphin clicks, we can say, okay, dolphins are present. We can hear them clicking. But what we can actually learn from dolphin clicks is a little more. So what we can see here is that as this spectrogram and the sound moves across, the clicks get closer together. And when they get close, really close together, that's called a feeding buzz. And what happens is the dolphin is clicking more as they're foraging and hunting for food. So what probably happened here is they're foraging in, honing in on prey, and then in this blank open blue spot, eating a fish. Then here the dolphin continues on foraging using the clicks. Dolphins also emit signature whistles. Those we can record on our hydrophones. They're unique whistles to each individual. They're developed early on in life, and then they remain with that animal for its entire life. They're used to maintain group cohesion by calling out to one another using others' dolphin signature whistles. And when we put signature whistles on spectrograms, we can kind of give them a visual representation again. So this might be one dolphin's signature whistle plotted out here, and this might be another. And this was research conducted by our colleague Amber Vandal, who was a graduate student and researcher here and is now a fellow at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And so what Amber did was she looked at signature whistles both in Chesapeake Bay and off of Maryland's coast. So when we look here at this signature whistle, it looks very similar to this one. I'm going to highlight this and then go back. And let's listen to about. That's a pattern of sequence of signature whistles. Here. So that's one individual's unique signature whistle. It'd be kind of like if I was like, hey, Jamie's here. Hey, Jamie's here. Hey, still here. You would recognize that by my voice and my intonation, as well as the actual name that I'm saying. Look that up. So we can use signature whistle analysis to determine if dolphins are returning to the same location during different months or seasons or years. And we can also listen for them in different locations. So for example, this signature whistle that we listened to earlier, we could hear it in the Potomac River in July of 2018, and then again the following month. We also know that we have heard at least one signature whistle in the Road River and in the Potomac River, suggesting that individual dolphins aren't just using one tributary or one part of the bay, that individuals might be using a large portion of the estuary. We recorded at least 20 individual or unique signature whistles in the Road River, over 300 in the Potomac, and more than 1,500 offshore. So this is a technique that we love using that gives us a lot of insights about dolphins in our area. What else are the dolphins doing? This photo was captured by a dolphin watcher in the Nansemond River, Kim, as it's throwing up a shad before eating it. We learned through our acoustic detections that dolphins spent about 30 to 40% of their time in the Potomac River foraging for food. So one of the questions that we always get is, what are they eating? And Lauren is investigating what dolphin are eating using environmental DNA. Environmental DNA is also known as eDNA, and it is similar to the TV show CSI, where they use things like hair or fingerprints to identify a criminal who's committed crime. We're trying to apply that same idea or technique to the environmental landscape. Lauren has an array of sampling sites across Chesapeake Bay. And what she's trying to do is, what she did was take water samples in the areas where we see dolphins in hopes of learning what they might be eating while they're here. Through her samples in 2021, she found over 30 different species, including in the lower bay, bottlenose dolphin, they were there. She also found eDNA from red drum and sandbar shark and summer flounder. In the middle bay, she found evidence of eDNA from croaker and spot and menhaden. And in the upper bay, some of our more freshwater fish, including silverside and striped bass and yellow perch. What else are dolphins doing? Well, our PhD student, Ben, is listening for ambient noise and fish sounds in Eastern Bay and came upon some very interesting sounds that we determined to be pops that dolphins make. And this is actually considered a courtship call. It's a sound that males make to get females' attention. And so through this opportunistic finding, we've learned that dolphins are emitting courtship calls or acoustics. We also have received footage and images of mating behavior that we decided weren't appropriate for a general audience, but I think you'll take my word for that and understand that this is what a pup looks like when a dolphin is courting, when a male dolphin is courting a female. All right. So let's review. Hopefully we've ticked a lot of these boxes for you. I know Matthias said, where do they go? We also want to know when they're here. What are they doing and what do they eat? So when are they here? We might find dolphin year round in the lower part of the bay, closer to the ocean. But if you want to see them in the middle and upper portions of the bay, May to September is your window. June to July is the peak, the best opportunity. Where do they go? They've been recorded in all of the tributaries off of the lower and middle bay portions, including the big rivers as well as smaller creeks. In the upper bay, we're still seeing most of our sightings in the main stem of Chesapeake Bay. What are they doing? Well, we've seen evidence of them foraging and feeding. We've seen evidence of them rearing their young and nursing their young, giving birth, and mating behaviors. And what do they eat? Lauren's looked at this, right? We think they're eating a lot of the smaller size schooling fish. They hit those schools of fish, they feast, but we know that there's plenty of prey. There's a wide diversity of prey. And so honing in on exactly what they're eating will take a little bit more research. Hopefully we'll employ some more eDNA. It's not magic, but it's very powerful science that is amazing. All right, so in terms of the next steps for us here on the Dolphin Watch team, we're going to continue to summarize our annual findings. We are beginning to use dorsal fin photos from our dolphin watchers. We're submitting them to the Mid-Atlantic Bottlenose Dolphin Catalog to try to match dorsal fins of dolphins in Chesapeake Bay with photos of dolphins, dorsal fins in other places to try to see if we can figure out if dolphins who visit the bay also visit other estuaries and places in the Mid-Atlantic. The pops and other sounds that we heard about that indicate dolphin behavior, we're preparing a manuscript to be published in a scientific journal very soon. We're hoping to recruit you all, our dolphin watchers, to participate in new ways with us. Someday we might do a little training on how to take a good dorsal fin ID picture, a good picture of a dorsal fin so that we can ID that individual in the catalogs. We might train folks on how to get really good images from drones so that we can get better estimates on the sizes of the pods traveling throughout the bay. We might ask you to pop a hydrophone into the water when you see dolphins and record those sounds for us so we can analyze those sounds. And at some point we might have dolphin watching days. If any of you participate in like the Christmas bird count or other citizen science projects, there are specific days of the year where they want you to go out and look, and then we can compare those results across the watershed simultaneously. But in order to do that research and continue the research and to grow it, we're looking to recruit sponsors for our program. As a little teaser and an incentive, we don't have all the answers yet. I know you think I gave you all the answers already today, but here's a little spoiler in the form of a map from 2022. We had some small groups of dolphins reported in the C and D canal. That's the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal that connects in the northern part of Delaware Bay to the upper part of Chesapeake Bay, suggesting that dolphins may be moving and utilizing different parts of the estuary. So we're going to continue to explore that throughout the years. In terms of the next step for you, please check out our website. From time to time, this is a flow code that you, again, can use your phone to scan. It'll take you to our website where we have a summary of our findings. 2022 is yet to come. Please review the responsible wildlife viewing guidelines so that you can all be responsible dolphin watchers. Keep your eyes out for as we recruit and invite you to participate in new ways, like we mentioned on the last slide. Remember that when you're out on the water and observing these animals, we're researchers. We're not authorized to report to these animals. So if you find a live animal in distress, whether that's on the land or in the water, or an animal that's already dead, again, on land or in the water, that is something that needs to be reported to the stranding hotlines, whether you're in Maryland waters or Virginia. So please don't report those animals to us. Other folks can respond to those. We cannot. Follow us on social media. We share images and posts and maps. We're at DolphinWatch_DB. You can become a supporter by donating, or you can dive right in and support us long term. We have a couple examples here in the room, but for those of you on Zoom, especially, this QR code, the square one this time, is a link to our Dolphin Watch book. It's a photo book. It's not a fundraiser. We don't earn any income from this, but it's a celebration of all that we've done in the 5 years, of all the contributions that our dolphin watchers have made to this research. It makes an excellent gift if you need something coming up here for the holidays. So you're welcome to check that out. That link will take you to Presto Photo. It's not an UMCES website for you to purchase that book. We want to thank everyone here in the room and virtually tonight, especially our DolphinWatch users who send us their sightings, images, and information. Our funders like the Chesapeake Bay Trust and the CBL, Chesapeake Biological Lab, as well as the Avanti Foundation. Our loyal donors who keep this project going from year to year, and our collaborators like Fred Jett and Mike Damus at Maryland Capital Advisors, Matt Auburn and his group at the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center, and all of the team members who have been working on DolphinWatch now and in the past. With that, I think we'll move to questions.
Thank you, Jamie. If you haven't looked up at the screen, there are 190 people online, which is a record for us. We'll do what I promised. We'll take a question from the audience, and then I'll go and try and curate what's coming in from the people in Zoom land. So,
Do you have any evidence that the dolphins are eating crabs in the Chesapeake Bay? I mean, is that on their menu?
We don't have any evidence that dolphins are eating crabs in the bay. They're opportunistic, so it would not be their first go-to meal. We know that they might have, they're very naturally curious animals, so they could find a crab and investigate it, maybe consume it, but it would not be their target prey.
So a couple of quick ones just for questions I've seen coming through. This talk will be recorded. It will be posted online in the next day or two. The DolphinWatch team will get a copy of all the chat. So questions we don't get to, they will try and get to. Lauren's been taking everything down. One of the questions I saw go through was, how do you know the dolphin sightings themselves are real? And I know that's something you take a lot of care with.
Yes. So when the dolphin sightings are reported to us, we have a data validation procedure. So basically we use ground truthing in the location and the description, as well as context clues. So if something comes up on land, right? This is why a lot of people ask the question. They go into the map and they see a dolphin in West Virginia, and they're like, ha, that's not a dolphin. Well, a lot of times what's happened there is they're on the mobile app and their signal isn't as strong as they thought it was. They actually saw dolphins. They were on the water. They were in the bay. And all the information is true. And what that takes is an email between me and that user to say what really happened here. And so not all of our sightings are confirmed. We're at about 75% confirmation rate on average from year to year. So one of the things that really boosted our confirmation rate between 2017 and 2018 was the ability for folks to upload images, right? So that really helps us narrow down when we have an image of dolphins, we can confirm.
Question from the audience. So,
Where do they go when they leave the bay?
So we know that they head into open waters, and we believe a lot of the individuals are part of our coastal stock of dolphins. So that would mean that they would probably stay in the mid-Atlantic area coastally. They're not part of the offshore stock of dolphins that would head into far offshore locations and deeper water. But that's a question that we're still getting answers on, and the National Marine Fisheries Service is doing a lot of genetic work, surveys to try to understand which populations are in which location. We happen to be in sort of an overlap of the northern migratory and the southern migratory coastal stock. And so what we wonder is if two distinct population stocks are actually potentially mixing in the bay, and that we're this unique overlap zone, but we don't know that yet.
All right, from the chat, are there any other dolphins in the Chesapeake Bay, or are they all bottlenose dolphins?
Typically, they're all bottlenose. We have had individuals of other species come in that were lone individuals and did end up stranding. So they're probably kind of lost, sick, injured, sort of anomalies. We don't have any regular visitors, regular inhabitants other than bottlenose.
Okay, and I'll follow up with one more.
Okay.
Lauren's work talked about what dolphins might be eating.
Yeah.
Is there anything trying to eat dolphins?
We do see shark predation on dolphin. This is sort of from my stranding work more than anything, but we do see shark predation on dolphins in the bay, but it's pretty rare. There's not a ton of stranded dolphins in the bay, and it would be hard to ascertain whether or not, without doing a necropsy myself, whether the shark predation happened resulting in its death or after its death.
Another question from Rich. So,
Well, actually, she's been waiting for a long time.
sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Where do bottlenose dolphins come from?
Yeah, so we think they come from the lower bay, like Virginia, where it's a little warmer and the water is a little saltier, and the ocean, where the water temperature stays more consistent than here. Does that make sense?
Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. For your gentlemanliness, you'll get the next one.
Thank you. So I was watching the time series, it looked like most of the population was on the western side of the bay. That was sparse on the eastern side. Is that just an artifact of spottings, or is there some reason that you can think of that that's the case?
I think it's probably, if I had to guess, I think it's probably more an artifact of people density. I think that dolphin are utilizing the eastern shore and the tributaries over there, but without having acoustics or some other kind of ground truthing over there, I wouldn't be able to say to what degree.
So one of the recurring questions we've had in every presentation so far is about blue catfish. So we get a blue catfish question. Do you think dolphins have any interest in blue catfish?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think they'll find a meal where the eating is good. I couldn't say if they're targeting only blue catfish, unfortunately. And it's mostly dependent on size, is what Lauren's pointing to. So can they, dolphins have teeth, right? But they tend to swallow their prey whole. So I do get questions about predated striped bass and other recreationally interesting species. And I don't think they're really gutting fish and then moving on. I think they're targeting those fish at school or in high numbers, dense situations, and they can eat quickly and eat well.
Question from the audience here. So, ma'am, sorry. Go ahead.
When you're recording your sightings, do you think that you get the same dolphin being reported by multiple people and making you think that the population is actually bigger than it is?
Yeah, so I might need Lauren to step in here because she's the one who actually built the model, but let's, we know how fast dolphin can swim, and we can say within this area, we had this many sightings within this amount of time. And so we can basically calculate that they were seeing the same group of dolphins at the same time. I don't have all that math for you, but it is built into our model. So it depends on how we're using the data. So when we show you those heat maps, we're showing you the density of reported sightings. And so there is some aspect of that. But when we report our data in this generalized additive model, we account for that. Thank you. Yes.
So there was a question that one particular attendee says they see them playing perhaps a bit wild sometimes. do they bite each other and play in the way that dogs and other social animals do?
Yep, great question. We see a lot. We know that they're very social with each other, within members of their pod and with other members. So it can be a bit of an aggression or it can just be social, but they will rake each other. They're called rake marks because as they drag their teeth over the skin, it will lacerate the skin. And then as that laceration heals, they appear as these white streaks or patterns. And some of that is what we use to identify unique individuals from photos.
Yeah, as I was wondering, it seems like as it gets warmer over the years, for example, we're seeing more pelicans come further up the bay. Is the same true? It didn't look like it in the data, but is it the same true with dolphins generally that we'll see more dolphins coming up into the bay with climate change?
So possibly, but I would think that the reason behind it would be a bit more indirect, meaning that as the water temperatures change, the fish recruitment and the fish populations are changing, which then would drive dolphins to be in different locations, as opposed to just the water temperature in and of itself. So those things are related. So which order, you know what I mean?
So I'm going to give the last questions to someone on the Zoom chat, and it says, what might account for the occurrence of pods of different sizes? So why does sometimes you see large pods, sometimes you see small pods?
I probably can't answer that question as well as I wish I could. I think smaller, shallower bodies of water, you're not going to get huge pods. They're going to break off from each other. But I'm not sure if it's prey or time of year would be an influence on pod size as well.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you to join me in thanking Jamie for a wonderful presentation. I will remind you of two things. The first thing is that next week, Walter Boynton, who's sitting very patiently in the back, he's not here a week early for his talk, but he is sitting patiently in the back. Walter Boynton will round this series out with some comments on the changes that have occurred in the Chesapeake over the last 50 years or so, some of the forces that have led to those changes, and some of the progress that we still need to make. So I encourage you to attend that presentation next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And I will finish just by reminding you all, and it's a reminder to me as well, it's much darker out there tonight than it was last week. So please be careful on the way home. Thank you all for attending. Hope to see you next week, and join me in thanking Jamie one more time.